Hello world, and welcome back to another episode of the vlog series which goes to the end of every metro line in Shanghai so that you don't have to, in search of the interesting, the extraordinary and the unusual. Now today we're going from sports to ports on line 6, crossing the Pudong district, one of Shanghai's biggest. There's going to be a lot to see, so let's get on board.
Did you ever look at a map and wonder, where are these places? What's out there? Well, maybe it's just me, but I decided it's time to find out. I'm travelling to the end of every metro line in Shanghai in search of the interesting, the extraordinary and the unusual. So let's go to the end of the line.
Now the Pudong district makes up most of the east side of the Huangpu River, and indeed that's where the name comes from, Dong being east in Chinese. Now it's the largest district in Shanghai and home to almost 5.5 million people, which makes it almost a quarter of Shanghai's population. So with that in mind, I think we're going to see a lot of residential areas and tower blocks, but hopefully further to the north, near the end, there'll be one or two little surprises.
We start in the southwest at Oriental Sports Centre, before spanning the entirety of Pudong, past its centre at Century Avenue, before turning north, heading past Waigaoqiao, all the way up to the terminus at Gangcheng Road.
This is line 11, which starts at Disneyland, and that guy obviously saw a bit of a business opportunity trying to flog some grey market merchandise to the punters before they get there. So, Oriental Sports Centre, here we are. I suspect this one is going to be fairly self-explanatory. So there it is, the Oriental Sports Centre. There's a couple of stadiums. This one looks like a swimming pool. Now here is a little bit of a new centre. We're close to the Huangpu River, and we've got some commercial buildings on this side and that side, and a construction site over there as well. So there is one of those new developments behind me, which looks quite new. Doesn't look like there's any tenants in there whatsoever. We're not too far from central Shanghai, so I'm sure this area will be booming in the not too distant future. The metro is just here, so it's time to get moving. So, Gaoqing Road, the first stop on the map. There appears to be a little industrial pocket here next to the metro, which I thought would be interesting to have a quick look at. This is where I invested in a good selfie stick. So, somewhat unsurprisingly, the industrial area has been flattened, though there are still these few houses here. Now this is a trend that's been going on in Shanghai for probably the best part of 10 years, where a lot of the older industrial areas have been demolished, moved out into either further outlying areas of Shanghai or indeed out of Shanghai completely. As always, Shanghai and indeed China, a land of contrasts. There's the wall right there, which the bomb site, it did actually look like a war zone is. And over there, the slightly fancier residential areas. It's time to keep moving. We are back at Century Avenue, one of the most important interchange stations in Pudong between four lines. You can go from north to south, from east to west, from northwest to southeast, or southwest to northeast. Whichever way you want to go, Century Avenue has it covered. So let's go and have a quick look above ground. Now, Century Avenue is a bit of an important traffic artery in the central part of Pudong, running from the Lujazway Business District up there, down to Century Park, past the Science and Technology Museum, both of which we saw in line 2. Now, just as I was coming out of the metro, I saw something in that shopping centre which caught my eye, so I'm going to go and investigate. There is a well-known brand of shoe in Australia, the Dunlop Volley. First developed in 1939 as a tennis shoe, hence the name, over the years the Dunlop Volley has turned into a cult brand in Australia. It's enjoyed by people who need a stable shoe, such as roof tilers or people who need a bit of extra grip. And it's loved by those of us who enjoy a nice, comfortable shoe. People such as my father, who has worn them for my entire living memory, or indeed myself. I'm wearing a pair right now. But why am I telling you this? Well, a few years ago, a famous Chinese actress, Fei Wong, was snapped wearing a pair of Dunlop Volleys at an airport. And demand for Dunlop Volleys in China boomed, and they fetched prices up to 2 or 3 times the Australian price on Taobao, which is China's Amazon. Now, Volley have finally decided to capitalise on this interest and have set up a series of retail stores in China. Now, when I came out of the metro, I noticed this Volley sign on the shopping centre, so I think it's time to go inside and have a look at this store. So unsurprisingly, these volleys in this shop here are quite expensive. It converts to 80 Australian dollars, which is about twice as much as they cost back in Australia, and even that is twice as much as they were just a few years ago before they pivoted into a fashion brand. So for now, I'm happy with the ones on my feet. It's time to get back to the metro and keep moving. So I could see on the map that this stretch of line 6 goes past a lot of apartments. Thought it was a good idea to jump out and have a look. And so what have we got? Apartments, 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 metro station under construction, and more apartments. So this part of Pudong, very residential. Jufeng Road. Now about half the trains stop here, so we had to jump out and wait for the next one. As predicted, apartments there, a few shops as well. Alright, 2/3 of the trains stop here, got to wait for another one. So from here it should start getting a little less dense residential, which would be good. As always, being elevated means we have some good views. Bit crowded. We have made it here to North Waigaoqiao Free Trade Zone. We entered the trade zone 2 stations ago at South Waigaoqiao Free Trade Zone, which is a bit of a mouthful. So we can see here a lot of factories, a lot of warehouses and a lot of offices. On this side there's also a bit of residential. Now this free trade zone was set up in 2014 with reduced import tariffs. The Waigaoqiao Free Trade Zone is not the only reason I'm here. Now if you've been following my vlog channel for any length of time, you might recall that this time a year ago I was in Hangzhou filming a vlog about the Longjing tea fields and also a fake Paris. Now over this side of the metro is a residential district, and in there I think is something that's equally as European inspired. So here we are, and as you can see we're not in Kansas anymore, or Shanghai. Welcome to what I call Amster Pudong. Now as I said in that Hangzhou vlog at the fake Paris, about 15 years ago there was a trend for using foreign influenced architecture, even to the point of foreign style buildings. So in the south of Shanghai there is a quite well known British district. There was obviously the fake Paris in Hangzhou, and here we have pretend Amsterdam. Now that trend has died out somewhat, and these towns are quite frequently used for wedding photography. As we see, they make a nice scenic backdrop. I'm not quite sure how many people actually live here because some of these buildings look fairly unoccupied. So I'm going to have a bit of a look round. I need to find the Windmill. So as I expected, it's fairly quiet here. All the shops are dead. There does seem to be a little bit of evidence that some of these apartments above are lived in. A few of the windows open, a few things in those windows. I have to say though, I don't remember too many palm trees in Amsterdam. At least there is bicycles, that much is authentic. And yes, there it is, the Windmill. I knew there was one around here somewhere. So yeah, Amster Pudong, it's interesting, but a bit of a ghost town, and I have to say that the ride from the metro station to here through the laneways of an older Chinese district was far more fascinating. So yeah, that's pretty much it here at the Dutch town. Going to head back to the metro station. There's only one more stop to the end of the line. We have finally made it here to Gangcheng Road, the end of line 6, here in the northern tip of Pudong. Now over on that side, more residential estates. Now the metro station is down there behind me. Now on this side of the road is quite industrial. There's a big pile of containers, and with all these container trucks, they're all coming from part of the Shanghai port, which is just down there. The Shanghai port is in a couple of locations. This one here is just about at the mouth of the Yangtze River, so I'm going to go and have a quick look. So there we are. Here is part of the port of Shanghai. Now, the Shanghai port is actually the busiest port in the world. It overtook Singapore for that title a few years ago. And an endless stream of container trucks as well. Now, the Yangtze River is just behind these layers of containers, or at least the mouth of the Yangtze River where it meets the East China Sea. Now, the second part of the Shanghai port is actually on the Huangpu River, which we saw in the Line 3 episode. And the third part is in Hangzhou Bay, which is about 15 kilometres offshore, where they got a small island, reclaimed a bunch of land around that, and built a 15 kilometre long bridge out to that island from the mainland. And they did that for a deep water port, so to ensure that larger ships can access the port. So that's pretty much it here in the northern wilds of Pudong, very industrial zone here. We've seen it all today, from sports to ports, and a lot of tower blocks in between. I sure enjoyed it. I hope you did too. Make sure you give me a like, drop me a comment if you've got something to say, and don't forget to subscribe. There will be more videos coming soon. Line 7 won't be too far away, heading back through central Shanghai up to the north. I'm looking forward to it. So until then, bye for now.